Hey guys, before we start today's video, I just wanted to take a brief second to dedicate this video to my cat Maggie, who recently passed away. It may seem silly, but pets are a part of our families, and I felt compelled to share her sweet face with all of you. So for a curious little lady who loved anyone and anything, this one's for you. Alright, now back to the scheduled program. Hi chefs, I'm Katie. Thank you so much for joining me today as we play some single-player Overcooked 2, The Unbread Have Risen on the Nintendo Switch. I'll be taking you through each of the levels, showing you my tips, tricks, and strategies for breezing through 3 stars. If you like what I'm doing and would like to support me, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Alright, now let's get cooking. Today's level is 1-5. We'll have a flat 3 minutes to score 200 points for 3 stars. Once again, we're learning a new recipe and it's one of my personal favorites. To make this pasta dish, we'll need to boil some noodles before adding chopped tomato, meat, mushrooms, fish, or prawns. For this level specifically, we'll only be using tomatoes for a classic meat-free spaghetti. As you can see, we have quite the change of scenery since we're now floating in the sky on a couple of hot air balloons. The kitchen starts off with frying pans on the upper side and pots on the lower, with chopping stations and plates in the center. Off to the right, we have our ingredients, sink, and delivery window. Our priority for this level, besides not falling off the balloon, is to make sure we have enough sauce for our noodles. Since we have to chop and heat the tomatoes to make the sauce, it will be a longer process than simply boiling the noodles. So when we can, we'll always want to make sure we're chopping tomatoes. Like the tutorial, this level's timer won't begin until after you've delivered your first meal. So if you find yourself having some troubles, or if you just want to get a head start on prepping, feel free to chop tomatoes all day long before delivering your first meal. If you are going to prep tomatoes ahead of time, one thing to consider is you only have 2 frying pans, 2 pots, and 2 plates. So while you can chop as many tomatoes as you like, you won't have the equipment to do anything more until after you deliver the meal and wash the dirty plate. Since we're on level 1-5, we're almost done with the first set of levels, so naturally they needed to increase the difficulty. And because we're up in the sky, things are bound to get a little windy. In fact, one could say this level will blow you away. Speaking of the wind, it will stop your chef from chopping tomatoes unless you keep your chef running toward the counter while chopping. You would think that if you were being blown into the counter that you would remain chopping, but unfortunately the counter must be lighter than our chef's because it glides a little faster. One task that isn't disrupted by the wind is washing dishes. This is super efficient since you always need clean plates, and it's a task that your chef can do on autopilot while you manage your other chef in the wind. About halfway through, I decided to try having a pot and a frying pan on both sides instead of having 2 pots and 2 pans. That way I could more easily plate a complete meal instead of running back and forth. I think this idea is helpful if everything times out at about the same time. However, it doesn't make a huge difference if we're constantly moving pots and pans to the center counter to prevent fires. If you're a pro at throwing, you can save time by throwing the noodles and chopped tomatoes into their respective cookware. You can also toss ingredients from one chef to the other to save time. Use this time to practice swapping chefs so that you can quickly switch and catch the ingredient that you just tossed. It's pretty easy to put your chefs in inconvenient spots due to the moving kitchen, so if possible, try to stay within the center areas. If you're more like me and your chefs do what they want to do, then you'll likely have to be okay leaving mid-task to remove something off a burner. Although we delivered our meals quickly for the first half of this level, the second half has produced some impatient customers. Due to some poor prioritization on my part, we let a few meals dip below the peak satisfaction and failed to receive the maximum tip. It may not have seemed like it, but our gameplay this round was pretty good. Of course, there is always room for improvement, so next time we'll try to make more intentional movements so that we don't have as much idle time standing around. And definitely more chopping tomatoes. Okay, so I have another joke for you. What do you call iron in the wind? Febreze.
Boo!
What? That was funny. Man, cook time can be brutal sometimes. At this point in the game, I didn't think I'd have enough time to prep more sauce, so I just decided to wait and deliver one more meal. Except by the time the game ended, the sauce still wasn't done cooking, and alas, the last 15 seconds of this game were fruitless as we weren't able to complete nor deliver any more meals. Alright. We delivered 8 orders, earning us 340 points, 136 in tips, and failed to fail an order for a total of 476 points. If you found this useful, make sure to check out the rest of the series where I tackle all of the other levels. Until next time, bye!